Tottenham have seemingly found their successor to Ange Postecoglou. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. It was seemingly the worst kept secret in football, but it does seem that Tottenham have found their successor to Ange Postecoglou, who they sacked last week in the form of Brentford manager Thomas Tuchel. The news has broke from David Ornstein today that claims that Tottenham are set to approach Brentford in order to go through all the official confirmation and the official channels of appointing Thomas Frank as their new head coach, and that he is very much likely to accept that particular offer. We're going to be talking about this today in this video. We're going to be talking Thomas Frank to Tottenham and how everybody may see it, or how I personally see it, and all of that stuff that goes along with this conversation. But before we go any further in discussing all of that and much more, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, I encourage you all to get involved in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling down there. Your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure will make for great interest in reading down below. So please do use and abuse that comment section, people, and talk to me on this. Would love to hear what you have to say. And without further ado, let's get on with the conversation. Let's get on with talking about Thomas Frank to Tottenham. Yep, it's not just player transfers that are happening in this transfer window. We also have some managerial ones as well. And of course, last week the news broke that Ange Postecoglou was sacked by Tottenham despite winning the Europa League. A horrific domestic cup season could not be salvaged by the triumph and the glory of winning Tottenham a trophy for the first time in 17 years. But things move on, as they always do, and instantly, this man's name right here, Thomas Frank, was named as the front runner and the likely successor to the big Aussie manager. I like this. I really do like this for Spurs, because I feel like this is exactly the kind of manager that they should go after. This is the kind of manager that they should want. And I can understand, maybe it's not the most exciting of names, maybe it's not the most shiniest of names out there, but he is the manager that you need, may not necessarily be the manager that you want. The news broke today on this from David Ornstein that stated that Tottenham make contact with Brentford as Thomas Frank appointment nears completion. Tottenham hope to agree deal in the next 48 hours, terms in place with the 51-year-old Dane. Healthy relations between clubs for talks over £10 million release clause. Brentford staff and also the Brentford staff that he may obviously want to bring over with him. It's big. It's big news this for Spurs. And like I say, I think this is the appointment that Tottenham need and may not necessarily be the one that Tottenham want. I personally believe that this is a guy who may undersell, but at the same time, over-deliver. That's just personally how I see Thomas Frank. I think he's been a wonderful, wonderful manager in the way that he's obviously carried himself with Brentford, the way that he's overachieved with Brentford, I guess you could say, for a couple of years. The way that obviously he's kept Brentford afloat in the Premier League and obviously helped them establishing themselves as a Premier League outfit for the past few seasons. He has certainly been a welcome addition to England's top tier division, and of course has been a fantastic manager and head coach for Brentford in seeing them get into the Premier League and establishing themselves in the top flight division. I like it a lot. I really, really do. I genuinely like this appointment a lot, because he is not going to be a manager who is going to demand stupid, unrealistic expectations like an Antonio Conte or a Jose Mourinho, for example. Even an Ange Postecoglou, I would say, with the way that he plays and the way that he's stubborn about his approach at times, demanded too much of Spurs. I think this is a guy that is going to be adaptable. I think this is a guy that's going to be flexible. I think that this is going to be a guy who obviously is Premier League proven and can work within the restrictions that Daniel Levy and Spurs set out for their head coaches and managers in terms of obviously transfers and things of that nature. I think that Thomas Frank has proven himself to work within a budget. He's proven to work within a much more limited, with limited resources, like he does with Brentford. And he's proven that he can come up with wonders, and he can obviously take a team like Brentford to fully establishing themselves in one of the most intense, physically demanding leagues in the world. I think Spurs is a bit of a step up in terms of that aspect, and in terms of obviously the money, the expectation, the rise, the kind of weight of the job around him. It is a step up in that regard, and it is going to be a different and difficult challenge for him to have to accommodate for. But it's one that if he's given the time to make something special happen, if he's given the patience to make something special happen, then Spurs can find the proper identity, find a consistent identity that the fans believe in, the players believe in, the club believe in, and they can then work on their expectations to be completely realistic, rather than have these expectations which are all over the place depending on the kind of Spurs fan you talk to. Some have very unrealistic expectations, some are much more realistic, and some may even be below what you probably would expect. There does seem to be a bit of an identity crisis at Spurs right now, but this guy can certainly help in redeem Spurs and maybe find that identity for themselves. There is the possibility as well that maybe he goes back to his ex-club of Brentford, maybe raids them. Maybe the Brian Mbeumo case isn't exactly as open and shut as we first thought. There are stories coming out that if Thomas Frank is to go to Tottenham, maybe, just maybe, he could maybe entice Mbeumo to go to Spurs rather than Manchester United, which could be an incredible hijacking of a transfer there. But like I said, I really like this story. I really do like this story for Spurs, and I do like this story for Thomas Frank himself. One thing I will say is that this may not appease the entirety of the Spurs fan base. Maybe they are looking for that big name, that shiny name, and maybe they're not happy with this. Maybe they're underwhelmed by this. There have been stories in recent days that even certain Spurs players are not exactly happy with the way that Ange Postecoglou was treated and gotten rid of. There's a lot here, and it was always going to be interesting to see what the aftermath of Postecoglou's sacking would be, and how obviously the Spurs players would react, how the fan base would react, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot riding on this, and it could add pressure to Thomas Frank that he has to hit the ground running instantaneously. If not, the fan base, the players may turn against him and the club. He's unfortunately in the wrong place at the wrong time. It should be the club, but you know how these things kind of happen. But I for one think that this is a very good move. Like I said, I think this is someone that can work within the restrictions that Tottenham set out for their managers. I think that this is a manager and a head coach who definitely over-delivers on expectation. I think that this is someone who carries himself really well. I think he's very respectable. I think that he is certainly someone who you can get on board with as a head coach and a manager representing your football club. I really do like this move a lot. I think Tottenham have actually made a sound business and footballing decision for once. I think that this is going to be interesting to see how he develops, not just as a coach, but how he adapts to the kind of step up from Brentford to Spurs, with all due respect. And overall, I can only see this really working out. I think if Spurs fans can temper their expectations, I think if they don't demand too much of this guy too soon, I think if they are patient, I think if they are considerate, I think if they are prepared to look at the bigger picture at times, I think Thomas Frank could very much work out at Spurs. And I think, like I say, I'm gonna repeat this again because For the people at the back that didn't hear, this may be the appointment that you don't want. This may not be the appointment that you want, but it's the appointment that you need. Go with me on that. I genuinely believe in those words. I genuinely believe in those words when it comes to Thomas Frank. I do like Thomas Frank. Have liked him ever since. Really do rate him as a manager. Rate him as a guy. Seems like a really cool guy. But yeah, I really do rate this managerial appointment. I think it's a smart bet. I think it's a safe bet from Spurs. I think he is someone that can adapt, and I don't think that happened a lot last season, which is why the domestic season was just such a disaster. But yes, I would encourage Spurs fans to be patient, to be cool a little bit, calm, collected, all of that stuff, and just let this Thomas Frank stuff play out. Just let it play out as it is, because I do think he is a very good manager. And I do think for Spurs, it is seemingly seen as a bit of a poison chalice, and it's understandable as to why that is. As much as I do think that this is a fantastic move for Spurs, I don't necessarily think it's too much of a fantastic move for Thomas Frank. I feel like if this is to go wrong, then it will taint his reputation that he's built up with Brentford as a manager. And people do often go on recency bias on these kinds of things, rather than look at, again, the bigger picture of his overall career. But I like this a lot, and I think that this is a very smart move on Spurs' part, and one that, if I was a Spurs fan, which of course I'm not, I could actually get behind. So I encourage Spurs fans to get behind this and like this move, but of course you each all have your own opinion. These are just the opinions, thoughts, comments, and thoughts, and whatever else goes along with that of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling down below in the comment section on this big news story that Thomas Frank to Spurs is nearing completion. Hit the comment section, guys. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about this big news story. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you are new. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, get involved, like I say, in the comment section. I've been Fletch, as always. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Thank you all for either brand new or continued support to the channel. Whichever one it is, it does mean the world to me. I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys are absolutely awesome. So thank you to each and every single one of you. And I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.